call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed. I'll take all the pressure like I'm acing this test. Tear it up like I'm Jason. I see the world like it's ready for the taking. I see this place like a game I'm playing. Straight to the bank to collect my payments. No negotiations, it's my way, I was born impatient. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation.
You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
I don't know how to stop. I just go till I drop. Whether it's working or shots, give it all that I got. You can watch me work in my element. Anyone in the way is irrelevant. You wanna cross me, cool, not intelligent. Cause I don't forget shit like an elephant. Go ahead and tempt me, put it on the line and you'll come up empty. If I got time, I'm deadly. Never caught off guard, no, I'm always ready. I got a hand real steady. Look me in the eye and you'll see no hezzy. About to get real messy. I'll put you in a grid 6 feet like Kenny.
You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
What is good, everybody? It's your boy, Reckless Raiden Arrow. We are back at it again for another episode of Future Financial Strategies. What's up? I know I said I was going to do this midday today, and then the day carried on, and then I had to do my end-of-month financials because I wanted to have that for this episode since it is the first, and that carried on, and here we are. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the regular episode, doing it live, so if anyone wants to tap in, have questions, chat it up for a little bit, yeah, we'll do that. As usual, this isn't going to be a full-blown panel discussion, live panel. We're just shooting through the episode like we do. Actually, let me pull my Rumble up for my Rumblers over there, just in case some of you guys tapped in, because every once in a while, my Rumble family taps in, and I appreciate you. Actually, whoever's watching over on Rumble right now, I appreciate you. Thank you. Obviously, impromptu live. So we're gonna jump right into the thick of it. We're gonna run through the metrics. Obviously, so I've condensed this down because it's blatantly obvious that I save a little bit more money than most people because it's a priority for me, and I just do it at the detriment or the sacrifice of other things. One of the things I did notice as I was doing right before I started breaking down my financials this month was that my float was touching the limiter, which is the amount that I allow to put on my daily driver credit card as I pay all my credit cards off every month. I keep a little bill on them to keep them active. We mainly keep those lines open so that we have access to the 0% interest loans on those, which normally take a 4% hit. Not a problem for somebody in crypto. Not a problem for somebody, honestly, doing dividends stocks either, in my opinion. But we leverage debt to acquire assets. So, and during the bull run, I normally give myself a little leeway because my savings rate spikes during bull runs. For those who aren't aware, bull run is every 4-year cycle of the Bitcoin halving. The crypto market goes crazy. As we get into the metrics, you're about to see how. So first things first, obviously, we're going to look at the credit score, which is at 809. That's pretty awesome. I'm going to have to do a episode on why credit matters, because everybody says credit doesn't matter because all the rich people want you to buy everything with cash, which means you're going to be saving up indefinitely. When there's some more efficient ways, that's one way to do it. But I'd say that there's more efficient ways to navigate the financial market. And I would dare say that no one who is rich that actually got it. I'm talking about the Fords. I don't think they're buying everything in cash. The Ford Motor Company doesn't buy everything in cash. Land developers who are professionals in the market that have been doing it for decades don't buy everything in cash. I just don't have a point of reference. I deal with a lot of people who are well over the $1 million net worth, deca millionaires, up to billionaires. All of them have debt. All of them utilize debt. Not in the same way that the working class and poor utilize debt, but debt is utilized. So to say that all debt's bad and never use it is disingenuous and false. It's just not as efficient, especially when you're dealing with rampant inflation. Now, with that said, we increased the credit score 4 points. Obviously, I use my credit, so it fluctuates. It goes anywhere between, I'd say, I think I peaked at 825 is the highest it's ever been. And it gets down into the 790s depending on how much credit I'm using. Shout outs to Goku. Dude, Goku's, whenever I'm live, ever since this dude subscribed, he's always here. He said, when can I retire? Hey, bro, you got to put in the work. You got to put in the work. I'm not retired yet. I just didn't have to work today. But the closer you get to it, the more options you have and the more leverage you have. And as far as negotiating things like, say, schedules, I personally like having 3 days off a week most of the time. I got 3 days off a week most of the time. It's pretty nice. But we're gonna jump into that. I like that. Goku. Keep grinding, brother. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. Keep grinding. Keep investing. Save more than you spend. Now, the savings rate for this month spiked up. Obviously, I saw that I'd floated a little bit on the card. Goku said after this bull run, he's done. You know, I don't think I'm ever going to stop working, but I might not be doing as much manual labor. That's for sure. That is for sure. So the savings rate for this month, now for reference, hold on, let me actually pull up last month's savings rate. So the month of January, when we first instituted this, we had a savings rate of 48.82%, which means out of all of the money that came in, that's including, but not limited to, the W-2 income, the passive income from DeFi, the income from just all the income that I get. If I get income from anything, it's referenced, and I'm tracking all of it now. So previous years, I wasn't including the W-2 income, but I needed that metric in order to figure out how much I'm saving, because I want to have a savings rate that's around 50%. Surprised myself, I was really close. So this month, the savings rate was 57.8%. I was talking about making my stretch goal 55%. So obviously, I'm expecting to see some good numbers, unless we're if we're in a cycle where I'm actively working on knocking out debt, savings rate might go down. But basically anything that goes into the market, because we're not saving in cash, stuff goes in the market. Anything that we're putting in the market, we're tracking that and making sure that we're accounting for it to be saved. Now, one thing that I will add is that all my DeFi income, everything that's in crypto, everything that's in my brokerage account, is automatically reinvested. So that also helps boost in that, as those are also sources of income. But it's still pretty nice to see that we're saving a lot more than I thought we were, which is good. Now, the net worth increased with this recent spike in crypto, and this is one of the benefits / drawbacks. There's pros and cons to being trading time for money is slavery. I just want to invest in crypto for the rest of my life and have more assets than liabilities. Absolutely, Goku 20,015. I don't necessarily know the trading time for money. I mean, you're going to have to do something. Like I said, I personally know people who got put in a position where they didn't have to go to work, and it didn't work out well for them. In the sense of, from like a health standpoint, people tend to crash out if they have no focus, and work does give you focus. If you lived in the forest and there were no jobs and we were still hunter-gatherers, you would be working all day. At no point in human history are we sitting around just doing nothing or playing video games or being pacified. So I don't believe that people who actually get that wish, I mean, you look at lottery winners, most lottery winners crash out hard. They end up in a worse position than before they won the lottery after they burn through that money. You got to be built for it. Like there's multiple games to play, but you got to figure out a game and you have to dedicate yourself to it every day or you're going to have problems because we're not built to just do nothing. We don't live on a planet where anything on this planet just gets to do nothing. There's a constant struggle. There's a constant fight. There's a constant problem to be solved. If you are not solving a problem, you end up having mental health issues. Hence the reason that first world countries have all the mental health issues. Got to have a problem to solve. So for me, I don't necessarily think that not working is a goal. I also don't see people that are aiming to not work become successful at anything at all. And I deal with a lot of rich people. Not one of them is going, yep, I'm going to be on a beach and I'm just going to stay on the beach the whole time. They all work constantly. They all work. They work as much or if not more than me, and I work a lot. So just a couple of things. Like, I mean, if you get lucky and win, that's considering winning the lottery. You're not going to keep it. And there's nothing worse. Like me personally, when it comes to doing anything, I deal in permanence. If I say I'm never going to talk to you again, I'm never going to talk to you again. If I remove myself from you, I remove myself from you permanently. I would hate nothing more than to leave a job too soon and then have to go back to work. Like, that's depressing. Like, that's the type of stuff that gets people to delete themselves. Like, it's just, if it's not going to be permanent, I don't even want it. I don't even want that as a thought. And I personally for me, I don't want to not work. I don't believe that that's a goal that will get me to the level of wealth that I want, because I don't know anyone who's at the level of wealth that I want. And I've got a really deep pool of people that I can actually go to that I know in real life that's what they do. Now, I'm not saying that they don't take some awesome vacations, and when they take time off or they party, they party to the fullest, but they come back and they work and they work hard. So I've accepted that as a man, I'm working hard. That's my job. That's what my DNA says. But I also don't want to have to work hard, I guess, is the way that I look at it. Oh, nice. Well, see, if you're writing, that's a different job. Like that's also a job. If you're gonna write, like if you want, my deal is you got to find a game that you want to play and play it. I just think that a lot of people arbitrarily say that I'm going to get rich and I'm not going to do anything. And, I believe that there's some people that actually would be a goal for them, but they also are so lazy and not wanting to do anything that they're not going to do more than the bare minimum to get their check to keep a roof over their head. So that's the reason they can't get rich. That in and of itself is the limit. But like when I tell people all the time, I put in 60 to 100 hours a week, every week. That doesn't mean that I go to my physical job and do manual labor for 60 hours a week. I'm also working on this YouTube channel. I also manage my portfolio. I also am managing my brokerage account. Like I have a lot of other things that are quote unquote work related, but I work for me. Like if you're not at least trying to match your hours at your job, or I'd say whatever you work a week at your job, you should put in 50% of that for yourself. That's going to be the reckless Ray Dinero prescription for the Wolfpack. 50% of the hours you put in at your W-2, you should be putting in for yourself at minimum, if not more. Because honestly, if we're going to talk about trading time for money as slavery, then why are you going to go work harder for the slave master than you're going to work for your freedom? If that's the way that you look at it, like, I mean, think about that for a second. People put in more hours and work way harder for the people that they consider their slave masters than they do for themselves. But then they'll sit at home while they're watching TV and playing video games for hours on end, complaining about what that person has. It's not their responsibility to make you rich. It's their responsibility to pay you enough to show up. And if they're paying you enough to show up, contract settled. Everything else beyond that point is on you. If you are looking, the reason you're not rich is because you didn't get a raise. That's on you. Because you still show up there. Don't show up. But I mean, and Goku 20,015 says, I'm talking about the 9-to-5 rat race. LOL, I grind for my freedom. I mean, if you think about it, the rat race never ends. If you own a business, and you're rich, you now answer to everybody who pays you. You at no point do you answer to no one. So, and most businesses are open 9 to 5. So, like, if you own anything, it's open 9 to 5. If you're a writer, you're responsible for cranking that book out. If you don't get paid. You're an actor. You got to go act and do whatever you got to do. There's just varying degrees of money and control of time. Like, do you have more money? Do you have more leverage? Do you have the leverage of people coming in to expand your wealth because they're working for you? Those are things. I mean, even if you're a day trader, day trading is work. Like, I got shout outs to the family over at Circa 84. Razik be up there. He does a live every morning while he's trading. He put in work, reading charts, doing data. Now he gets to do it in his truck. He gets to do it at home, but it's still work. Like, you still got to read through that stuff. Like, I don't want to read those charts. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, and even with crypto, like, you got to tediously move the funds around. You got to go make sure your farms are okay, so you're not getting liquidated. You got to do a bunch of stuff. Like, there's work involved in everything. Like, at some point, and like, it has to get done within some hours. I guess if you're in, and honestly, if you're in the traditional markets, they don't run 24 hours. So you do have to be up from 9 to 5. Like, if you're managing a brokerage account, like, that's when the market's open. So you gotta be up for that. I got you. Yeah. I mean, it's and that's the game. That's the game that I'm going to talk about. It's getting to the point to where you can just invest. And like, it's kind of a deleveraging out of the market. But before we get to that, we want to give a shout out to Delta Investment Tracker app. They are a sponsor of the shows, the platform, getting ready to test out this desktop application that they finally released. Thank you, Delta. I was given a heads up and I wasn't allowed to say anything about it when they first approached me for sponsoring me. And, you know, they said it's coming. The guy told me not to say anything, but since I already got the email and it's official, like, they sent me a follow-up on it. I'm going to test it out, and we're going to start getting some visuals from that on the show. Since this is Future Financial Strategies, we gotta talk about. So we're done with the savings rate. We're going to get to the net worth now. This is the important thing about the bull run, where I tell people. So Goku, you're going to love this. Make sure you perk those ears up, man. So I do my net worth every month. So I know exactly what I'm spending. Well, not exactly what I'm spending, because I'm not a true budgeter. That's not how I'm planning to get wealthy. I don't advocate getting wealthy by just being cheap, I guess would be the thing. I'm not going to tell people to not get their coffee. If you want the coffee, get the coffee. Just figure out how to invest. Like, I don't know. I'll leave that in your hands because it's different for everyone. But I do subsist on I'd say the minimum. I call it minimum plus. Like, I cut down to the quick on stuff that I don't value. Like, if I don't need it, I don't buy it. Like, if I'm not interested in it, I don't buy it. I don't have Gucci shoes. I don't have Gucci shirts. I don't buy rims. Like, my car gets me to and from work. I take care of it, but it's actually, my car's a little bit. So I like luxury, semi-luxury cars. Like, I have a hybrid, but like, I have a luxury hybrid and I like it. It's nice. It's an entry-level luxury hybrid. It's not special for my day-to-day driver. And we might be switching that scenario around, because normally, prior to moving to this location and buying this property, I had 2 cars. And that is one of my things. I like having 2 cars. Reason being, because they're not both too nice cars. There's normally a daily driver and then something that I want to drive, that I normally will drive like 3 days a week, which is like my end of the week deal. Like, it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday car. and it's normally a little bit faster than my daily driver. Now, depending on the daily driver that I have, that could be fast as well because I like working on cars. But I got rid of one of my cars when I moved here, and I haven't had 2 cars. And the reason I believe I personally want to have 2 cars is like when I was growing up, like I bought a bunch of throwaway cars because I got financially cut off at 16. So I purchased every car that I've ever had since 16. And at 16, I didn't have a lot of money. So you got to get what you can get. And doing that, I bought a bunch of cars that always had problems. Like they would just be down, like they'd be in the shop, and I would literally drive them till they were like done. And then once they became too unreliable, I would just go trade it in for another car that was falling apart. And I did that for probably about 8 years. Most likely. I wouldn't say 8 years. I'd say it was a solid 6. So like up through 22. No, I did it for 4 years. It was until I turned 20. Well, no, 5 years until I turned 21. Because I remember 21, I bought my first newish car. Because I've never purchased a brand new car. I don't believe in it. It's stupid to just have the new car smell. So the newest car I've ever purchased, I purchased a year-in Nissan Sentra SER Spec V. I love that car. And that was the first newish car I had, and it was like the end of the year model. It had like, I think it was like 5,000 miles or something on it, and it was like new. It was cool. I love that car, and I bought it, and at the end of the year, and that was like the first car that I had that like wasn't falling apart when I bought it or had issues when I bought it. And I drove it, and I had it for a really long time. And then after that, like my cars, I was staying up on them, I was having enough money to take care of them. Still check to check, but like I had enough money to fix most things most of the time, like to keep the car running. And ever since then, I've always had a thing where I've wanted 2 cars. And it was because, like, just in case one of the cars breaks, you got another car that you can drive if you need to. Like, I don't like being in a situation where I'm without, and it's kind of the redundancy for me. Like, I'm like, if this fails, I can get in this car and I can just go do what I got to do. So I'm looking at this year because we got the bull run. I might be able to get myself back into the 2-car mode, which would be nice. I'm looking at either keeping my car that I have now as a daily driver and just driving it till the wheels fall off. It's very reliable. It's a little tank. I love that car, but like having that for to and from work, and then getting something that is either all-wheel drive and a little bit faster, because like my little hybrid, she ain't fast. She ain't a fast car at all, but she gets you where you need to go, and she speeds when she needs to, but she's not fast. You're not passing people in this car. It's just a really nice, comfortable ride. Gets you to and from, decent radio system in it, and I like it. So I'm considering either keeping that car and then getting another car. But generally speaking, if I get another car, then y'all ain't going to see me hardly ever, because while I do car payments, I normally try to like pay them down ahead of time, which means that if I get that new car, then I'm going to start Ubering again, most likely, at least until that car note's done. And yeah, it's just what you do. Either that or I'll just save up, and we'll see. Bull run does interesting things. But when it comes to the net worth, obviously I tell people I'm dangerously over leveraged into the crypto space. And that's the reason we are getting back out of we're not getting out of the crypto space, but we're going to be diverting our income into building out the portfolio. We're going to be diverting the income into building out the portfolio in my brokerage account. And that's going to be an income-driven portfolio as a base. And then we will use the income that starts generating to build out some other positions later on down the line. But before we do that, we're gonna be trying to get as much income as possible. And we're making some moves. I got a really interesting strategy that we're getting ready to implement from how we roll it out and how we scale it perspective, because I don't set it up for the auto drip method. I manually reinvest my funds. And the reason being is it gives you some ability to do some other things besides just like grow one thing. And I like the set it and forget it. I'm like, there's always a cost for doing stuff the easy way, in my opinion. If it's too easy, there's an expense that's going to do it. But the net worth went up from January to this month. And that's one of the metrics I look at is how do we do between the months? So between January and this month, the net worth increased $46,311.85. I will repeat that again, $46,311.85. That is wholly based on crypto, based on what we've got in there. The portfolios are getting wild. Like I moved some stuff around. Like I moved some more stuff into the retirement ledger. We added some chain link positions in there. That is almost in and of itself at six figures. The active portfolio is, well, hold on. Let me look to make sure that I'm not misquoting. The active portfolio is it's like roughly 50% of that. It's a little bit over. And then out of that, like 85% of that is active in the market, working in state. So it's not looking bad. Not looking bad at all. We got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving parts. That is the gist of that part of the show. So now we're going to kick it over to the topic. We're going to burn through this. I wouldn't say really quick, moderately quick. Let me get these screen shares up here. And okay, so we're gonna start off with the federal income tax, and we will. So for 2024, we're looking at the income tax brackets. Now, I'm only going to be focusing on the income tax bracket that I fall into, which is going to cover most, if not most of like where you should be. Like if you're not in my income tax bracket right now, then you gotta get your weight up. Like I'm not going to pretend like I always tell people, I feel like $50,000 a year is the cutoff mark. But like at $50,000 a year, if you're single and you haven't just been breeding uncontrollably, you should be able to make some moves as a single man or woman at $50,000 a year. You should be able to figure some stuff out. Like you should be able to start figuring some stuff out. Under that, questionable. But like that doesn't mean you don't start then. You don't wait till you make $50,000 a year to start putting something aside. Like when I started in crypto, I was investing with literally like $2-3 here and there. Doing what I could with what I had. And that you have to do that. Like if you're trying to wait till things are perfect, you're never going to start, or you're going to start so late that then you're going to have that as an excuse. Like people who make excuses tend to just always make excuses. Also, if you're broke, don't have kids. Like just saying, like why would you, like you're already broke. Kids are expensive. Don't math on that. Just saying. But I'm in the 22% federal income tax bracket, which is between $47,151 and six figures, basically. And I always tell people, I'm like, this is the tax bracket that I'm trying to stay in indefinitely. So like, as I increase my salary, as I'm given more opportunity, it's the reason that I'm like way more focused on the active portfolio, the active stuff. Obviously I'm doing my retirement match, but I want to stay at 22%. 22% is not bad, right? If I get married, then like now you're looking at being in here in the 94,000 to 201,000. You got a little bit more leeway. unless you both making six figures, and it's going to get questionable. And then it's married filing separately. Married filing separately is the same, and then head of household picks that up to 63,000. Nice. Okay. But you want to stay in the 22% unless you like own a business. And if I owned a business, I would put myself down in the 12% real quick. Like I would only pay myself $47,150 a year, and I would just be in the 12% tax bracket, and I would bang it out, and I would just get my money back on the back end out of the profits from me not getting paid the rest of that money. But you want to be trying to work your way down into the 22%. Now, see, that's when you start crossing over that. That's when you start filling up your 401k at work to the maximum to drop your salary down so that you can stay in this realm or stay as low as you can. Like that's when that makes sense. If you're in this tax bracket already, unless you're at the top of it, I think you're better off working to just get a portfolio that pays your expenses and get out of the workforce as soon as possible, or get out of the workforce where you have to work that hard as soon as possible. Because I'll tell you what, like once all my expenses are covered, I'm probably just going to bartend a few days a week or go get a part-time job over at Amazon so I can have benefits and just do that. Like there's just no point. Like there's many other things that I can, or I'll start a business where I can get insurance and then make sure that my payment stays in this because my dividends cover everything else. So I can just try stuff. I can go out and build things. It just doesn't make sense to me. But then people are always talking about your taxes. Oh, capital gains tax. You shouldn't invest you got to invest in your portfolio because of taxes. And it's like, if you invest in your retirement portfolio, you can't spend the money. Like, I'm thinking like people like skip over that, or there's penalties in addition to taxes if you want to spend that money. Also, if your active portfolio pays all your bills, you don't have to go to work. You can go to work as a choice. So I wanted to look at this, and I'm like, okay, so like let's talk about it. So first, we're gonna look at. Actually, first, I want to look at the short term, not the long term. So we're going to share this. So we're going to look at the short term's capital gains tax. That's you make money. It's under 12 months. You're in and out. You're a trader. Look at that. It's the same rate of the rate that we're trying to be in, the 22%. Same rate. Same rate. Now, for those of you who are over there in the Wall Street trapper camp, and doing day trades, or you're in Circ 84 and you got Razik mentoring you, you might be, so these gains might bump you up into a different tax bracket. That might be something where, you might want to start up in the amounts in your 401ks to lower it down, or like knowing how much you're making. And then, making a few plays as you build that portfolio out, what have you. That might be some strategizing you might want to do. But like, honestly, if you're getting it like that, then like, technically speaking, you don't have to go to work either already. But what I tell people all the time is I'm like, on the back end, you should probably be building, because like my strategy is to get a dividend portfolio that covers all my expenses active. I don't want to have to eat off the crypto. I want to keep that for as long as possible. That's on the back end. Technically speaking, the way that I look at that, that's retirement for me. And it's fully funded as far as I'm concerned. And we're just adding gravy on right now because we got all the I hit my Bitcoin goal a few years back, and I have some extra in there. And yeah, with the growth and appreciation, it's a battle of attrition. As long as I can continue working and I don't have to touch that, I'm good. But what I would like in a perfect scenario, in the scenario that I am building, that I am, for those of you who are in the manifesting camp, that I'm manifesting by doing the actual work every day, intentionally. that I'm building is to get that portfolio. And they're like, oh, dividends, taxes. And it's like, okay, well, first and foremost, if I'm short-term position, because I'm going to be getting a little bit of a hit this year from the savings for the home, because that's up 56%. It's really great. And I'm already almost at my goal for cash on hand for the down payment for the house that I was going to furnish from me working. I have a couple of other things that I'm adding to that, but that was the kicker, was to get to that $10,000. I'm already almost there, and we're just now getting into February. So that's awesome. Obviously, we took our tax refunds, heavily invested most of those. We kept 10% to mess around with. I still haven't ordered clothes because that's what I was going to do for fun. But here we are. We're ready to do a thing or two, and I'm excited about it. But we're trying to stay in this 22% range. And I noticed that, like, the short-term capital gains tax for a single person, 6 figures or under six, up to 6 figures, we'll say you make 100,000 or less, 22%. Now, if you're less than that, it's less. It gets down to 10% for short-term capital gains tax. Like, if you are broke and somehow you make money in the market and you don't have any other income, and like that's just all you're getting is 10%. That's why would you not want to do this? Like, you just pay your taxes and get your money. Now, next we're going to go with long-term capital gains tax. Like, if we look at that goes from 0 to 20%. So you hold these positions for over a year, it is 15% up to $500,000. That's basically everybody. That's mine up to, if I make $500,000 a year, I'm gonna crash out. If you make under $47,000 a year, basically, it's 0%. You don't pay any taxes. No taxes. That's the reason I'm like, you gotta start these brokerage accounts, people. You gotta get in the market. You gotta save in the market. That's the only way to preserve your wealth at this point. If you're just looking to preserve the balance of what it is, put it in the S&P 500. That's because inflation, at least that's going to keep up with inflation. Like, you got to beat inflation. You got to beat inflation. Now, the dividends tax rate, let's look at that. Dividends are actually taxed less than what we make, which is why I say dividends are so important. Dividends are going to be the play. Dividends are going to be where it's at. The dividends tax rate is 0 to 20%, and it's only 20% if you make over $500,000 a year. Between under $500,000 or up to $518,000 from $47,000, it's 15%. If you make less than $47,000, you don't pay taxes on your dividends. This is the reason that this is the goal. We're trying to work our way over into a portfolio of dividend income that makes more, that clears our monthly expenses. That's the goal. That's the reason that I say that that's so important, is because there's so many benefits in that. And, you know, that's the reason I wanted to kind of do this episode. I was going to release this on Thursday morning, but I forgot to even record it. So we're doing it live as punishment. Really happy that Goku 20,015 stopped in to say what's up and chill out with us for a little bit. But that's basically it. It's just knowing the importance and understanding how some of these things work. Like, I'm not going to be the guy that tells you that you shouldn't do things, certain strategies, but I will say that it is important to do the math, because there are different levels of efficacy and efficiency. Now, For my hedge personally, like obviously I'm well over leveraged into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is killing it. It's going to crush everything, especially the next 12, 24 months, but indefinitely. There's just not anything that's outperformed it in 15 years. That is the most efficient horse in the race. That said, we are now that we're fully seated in that position, we're going back and we're doing the inverse of what all the finance guys told you to do. Oh, you should put 5% in Bitcoin. Like, I'm going to put 5% into my dividend portfolio and start building out a traditional finance portfolio. That's also going to kill it and produce money. But then we'll hedge that way. And I'm going to use the traditional finance market to hedge my bet on the crypto space and Bitcoin, because I high-key doubt that people are going to be pulling the numbers that we're going to be pulling in the crypto space over the next 12 to 24 months. Like, they're just not. It's not possible. What's going to be important, though, is what you do with the money. Because Goku, I'm 100% sure you're going to be out there. You're going to win. But are you going to keep it? How much of it are you going to keep? How much of it are you going to flip into the next play? That's the question. It's your boy, Reckless Ray Dinero. This has been Future Financial Strategies. I'm really happy for those of you who tapped in, those of you who watch later. If you liked what you saw, definitely tap in. Links are down in the description. You can join Circa 84. We have in-depth conversations going into the weeds on these topics. Also, you can topics that you guys want to hear, things that you want me to cover on Future Financial Strategies. Again, this is not the crypto focused show. That is crypto portfolio updates, but just financial topics. Send me videos. I can do reactions and stuff too. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Does it make sense? Is this landing with you guys? Like, are you guys understanding how this works? And when they tell you, oh, you got to invest in your 401k because of taxes and not having access to the money, or collecting an additional burden to get your money back on top of taxes. Tap in with me down in the comments below. Let's have the conversation. It's your boy, Reckless Ray Dinero. And until next week, I am out. Peace.